Today the camera's handheld, so there will be some jiggling, I'm afraid. If you are prone to motion sickness, you may not enjoy this video. I'm going to keep it very short today, but I wanted to show you what the yarn for my brown, red, and white set turned out like. I followed my plan mostly, which is to say that the variegated braid with the lots and lots of white and then patches of brown and red, I just spun as is. And I spun a singles with fairly low twist because I've discovered I like my yarns fluffy. And did a plyback sample, the whole 9 yards. In fact, the plyback sample is now one of the self ties on one of these skeins, if I can find it. Yes, here it is. This is my plyback sample. When I got to the brown and red, my original plan was to do an ombre sort of effect where the singles would shade from red into brown. I ended up ditching that plan and doing what's called a combination draft instead. And in combination drafting, what you do is you hold both colors together in your fiber hand and draft from both simultaneously. And I think you can see fairly well that this has an incredible randomizing effect where the two colors go. So I opted, instead of the ombre, first I ripped up the brown braid into sections of just varying lengths. I just kind of ripped as the mood took me and put them all in a box, an open top box. And then as I spun from the red braid, every now and then I would just switch to brown. But before I would switch, I generally did some combination drafting. So that singles is just amazing. Here's another place where you can see that one of these plies has two colors in it, and it's not from the variegated. It is from the brown and red being combo drafted together. Now, this turned out to be a fairly subtle effect because the brown and the red were so close in value. You can see it very well in this marled yarn. If I were able to, in this video, suddenly switch to black and white view, you would see, you would hardly be able to tell them apart. The red is maybe a little darker than the brown. And of course, it's considerably brighter when you've got a full color spectrum going on. The other thing I opted not to do, and let's see if I can find one of these ends. At first, I tried plying as a 3-ply because I had also made a white singles. And shoot, see, this is why I need to plan before I pick up the camera, but there it is. Oh, here it is. You can see. I had also plied a white singles, and when I started plying, I made a 3-ply yarn, but for various reasons, I did not love the look of it. It felt like there was too much white, though now looking back, maybe I should have kept that. And when I ran out of the brown-red singles, I plied the variegated brown-white-red with what was left of the white singles. So every now and then you get this patch where it's just straight up white, because that's how the variegated braid was made. And then elsewhere you see it with the brown, and then you see teeny bits of red peeking in, and it just kind of, it changes. So in my post yarn review, and I want to mention too that I have not yet set the twist on these skeins. You really cannot judge a skein of hand spun yarn until it has been washed and allowed to air dry. But I haven't done that yet. I will do that soon. And then I will do my standard weighing and measuring so that I can calculate my yardage, because it turns out that that is a crucial step for actually using the yarn, is knowing how much yarn you have. Oh, here's a really good spot where you can see the drafting. So the white is coming from the variegated skein. But the brown and red, this is combination drafted, and it's just amazing. It's really a lot of fun to do. It's a fun way to play with color. If the brown and red had been different in value, if one had been very dark and one had been very light, the combination drafting would have showed up very differently. And that's just part of the fun of getting to design your own yarn and play with colors and think before you start spinning, how do I want these colors to show up? Do I want them to stay pure? Do I want them to appear in little specks like with combo drafting? Do I want this marled effect? So in the end, I would give this yarn about a B+ in terms of how I like the finished outcome. I suspect that I will, when I use it in a project, and I don't know what that project will be, and I don't know who it will be for, I expect I'm going to want to play up the ombre nature of this yarn, probably in a weaving that starts at one end, maybe with solid white, because I can still ply that solid white singles with itself. So it might start with solid white and then move into a white plus a little bit of color, and then move to even less white at the end. That is quite likely what I'll do eventually as I come up with a plan for this yarn. But it's also okay just to enjoy making the yarn and then, wait for it, give it away to somebody else to use. Sometimes the pleasure you get from spinning is just making the yarn. But then if you hang on to it, you end up with tons and tons and tons and tons of yarn that's just sitting around not being used. And I think that makes the yarn sad. Yarn likes to be used. So if what you loved about a yarn is the making of it, don't feel any caution about just giving it away to somebody who loves it and will love using it. That is okay. We're spinners. We get to do what we want.